The wholeness in me greets the wholeness in you. And I have loved what you were saying in the opening about remembering who we really are and celebrating that wholeness. And I see the world and consciousness a lot, the hub of the wheel being that divine love, which you so eloquently talked about, unconditional love. And I'm one spoke in that wheel. And everyone here is a spoke. And to live that spoke. And what I would really love to really celebrate this interconnection today is with a rampage of that remembrance, raising that vibration of wholeness so that these definitions of love, which can be convoluted, as you said, with words and feeling, that it anchors, as my friend Diana had in the Mexican cruise, to a cellular level, remembering that we're God, we are love. We kind of are always in the vortex. We just don't remember at times. I mean, because we're whole in our essence. So that rampage of, oh, you're whole, I love you.
It's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because a rampage, adding more words to an out of the vortex moment actually is not necessarily the best way to go about it. And so we left the conversation just now with the idea of deconstructing thought. In other words, reaching to the vibrational level rather than the thinking level. And the crux of that really is, we touched on it a little bit earlier today when we were talking about when you're focusing on anything, the more you focus upon it, the more detail you give to it, the stronger the vibration of it becomes. And so over a lifetime, many people have developed strong patterns of thought, which a good word for that is a belief. A belief is just a thought you keep thinking. But we want to talk about the reason you keep thinking the thought. In other words, there is a reason that somebody continues to think a thought. Because we don't think that you keep thinking the thoughts because you've got flashcards in your pocket. We don't think you're carrying around belief cards that, in other words, I have a belief in not enough money and I will keep it alive by reading this card every day. And so the beliefs that so many people have that they keep active, that they don't mean to keep active, it's not because they're deliberately practicing the thought, it's because they have thought enough thoughts like it that they have developed a vibrational pattern, let's call it a vibrational pattern for a little while rather than a thought pattern. And then let's deconstruct the thought to vibration a little further, and let's call it an emotional pattern. Let's call it a mood pattern. Let's call it an attitude pattern. In other words, isn't that sort of a deconstructing of thought? Now, our friend asked us just the most wonderful question a little bit ago about which comes first, the thought or the emotion. And we said, it doesn't really matter which comes first, because the fact of it is, you've been thinking the thoughts long enough that you've developed the vibrational pattern enough, and the vibrational pattern has become your point of attraction enough that now other thoughts are coming, and so everything in your life is coming in response to all of that. So let's deconstruct that. Let's break that down. And the way you break it down is by becoming less detailed about the things that don't feel good and more detailed about the things that do feel good. So you're breaking down the thoughts that don't feel good while you're making more specific the thoughts that do feel good. So when we do a rampage of appreciation, we always feel the attitude of the audience in relationship to their source, because to rampage, if they're not in the vicinity, isn't helpful to anyone. So if we're deconstructing thought rather than rampaging, what we're actually doing is developing a mood on purpose and then trusting that law of attraction will offer. In other words, we want the rampage to be inspired, not contrived. We want to have deconstructed the thought enough that the emotion and the vibration are central, and then law of attraction brings the pattern of thoughts to it that matches it, you see. Make sense to you?